Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Brett Kelly. I'm a strength and conditioning coach here in St. Louis for Exos. I've worked all over the country in minor leagues for the White Sox, for the Cardinals, St. Louis University, and most recently the U.S. ski team with free skiing. So I'm going to go over just some basic education stuff on this page a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about periodization. If you enjoyed, if you like it, please subscribe below, share, comment some questions. Happy to reach out, answer those, or maybe make another video about anything specific. Like I said, today we're talking about basic periodization models and kind of what the thought process is behind a lot of that. So really, to get started, I kind of put up on the board here 3 of the basic periodization models. So we're gonna have linear, undulating, and block periodization, okay? So linear, most basic periodization you can really think of. And all periodization is, I probably should go over that definition too, is just having a general plan of the workout. So having estimated sets, reps, volume, all that kind of stuff, and not just coming in and guessing every time. So having a plan is better than no plan. Obviously, I have some favorites here. Research shows that some of these can work a little bit better than others, but having a plan is better than no plan. So let's get started with linear. So generally, the only time I would really use linear is if I'm working with somebody that has never been in a gym or hasn't been in one in a long time, somebody with very low experience in the gym. All linear periodization means is basically every week in some capacity, whether it be intensity, so that can be like the amount of weight or the amount of power, or the amount of volume, which is the amount of reps you see. All of that is going to be going up in some increment, some steady increment each week. So you can see in this top chart up here, we're going to have is basically our volume. Each block is considered a week. I just made this up. Is going up an arbitrary amount. So let's say it's going up 10% each week. Okay. Obviously, if you have somebody that's more advanced, that's going to be impossible at some point. Well, for anybody, it's going to be impossible at some point without taking a break, because we can't just get better every single week forever. So that's when you start thinking about undulating periodization. So next one down, undulating periodization. For this one, I'm thinking about getting better than the previous week for maybe 3, really I'll see like 3 to 5 weeks before people start breaking down and then needing a recovery. So what we're doing is week 1, and then week 2 is gonna be more intense than week 1, week 3, more intense than week 2, and then we have a recovery week. Week 4, at least in this model, is similar to week 2 in the intensity. So now that first week back, you're already back to where you were on that second week. So we've wiped out that first week intensity, and now we're growing each time. So you can see we go up, back down and rest, we go up a little higher, back down and rest, going up a little higher, back down and rest, okay? So this model can be seen overall week by week like we have here. If you're looking at it like block by block over a month, that's something you could do. Or there's daily undulating periodization, which basically what that's going to mean is you are doing this, so having changes in intensity throughout 1 week. So an example of that, when I worked for the U.S. ski team, a lot of my athletes would travel pretty often going down to the southern hemisphere to chase snow. So I really wouldn't get a full off season with them, right? So, with those sports, I want to make sure we're attacking endurance. I want to make sure we're attacking speed, agility, hypertrophy, strength. So all that stuff is hard to do without like a full off season. So I would do daily undulating periodization when they would see me for like a month, for instance. So, they're coming in, let's say the way I did it was day 1, they would come in from the weekend. Hopefully they're most fresh then. So we'd be doing our power phase, all working on power that one specific day. Wednesdays they'd come in, we're gonna be doing strength. They should still be fresh from that power phase. Isn't gonna be that taxing as far as like making the muscles sore. So they can come in, they can get a heavy strength day in, then another recovery day. Later in the week on the Friday, they come in, that's when we're gonna be doing hypertrophy, okay? So you can see that undulating throughout the week, right? So we have that high power stimulus with low volume, and in the middle of the week, we have low volume with high weight, and then the end of the week, we have high volume, moderate weight to help with hypertrophy a little bit too. And then our conditioning would fall in line with that as well. So power day, not much conditioning. Strength day, we'd have more like hit circuits. And then on Fridays with the volume, we did more long sustained running or long sustained biking is actually what we did. But so that's an example of how you can do undulating, which is personally one of my favorites, throughout a week or throughout a block like this 3-week block here. So like I said, I generally would do 3 or 4 week blocks when I'm doing undulating. Now we go into block periodization. So block periodization, what we're gonna do is you're basically gonna stay at that same intensity, that same volume relatively for that block, okay? So here at Exos, we do 4-week blocks usually. It's about every month we're changing up the block or the scheme. So let's say for the first month, we're working on hypertrophy. That means all of our reps are gonna be at this higher volume. Our intensities are maybe at this moderate volume. We're basically staying there throughout the month. You know, there's obviously some up and downs just from day to day if people are getting more fatigued or feeling great and want to get after a little bit more. But generally, the concept is gonna be the same for those 3 or 4 weeks. And like I said before, I wouldn't see this going past 6 weeks. Maybe with somebody that's advanced, it can go to 6 weeks, but for most people, I would say 3 to 4 weeks. And then we're having a recovery week, and then we come back to that next block, and that next block is gonna be working on whatever the phase, you know, whatever you're trying to get to with that next block, whether that's now, let's say we did hypertrophy for a block, recovery week, strength for a block, recovery week, power for a block, so that intensity is going up and that volume is going down, okay? And that bottom chart here talks just about that intensity and that volume ratio, right? So, you know, if I'm doing 10 reps of something, I can't do that at super high intensity, right? Because just, I mean, physically I can't do that. So as that intensity goes up, that volume is gonna be going down, okay? So obviously those are gonna intersect at some point, and that's gonna be kind of ideally what I'm looking at for hypertrophy is that intersection area right there. So something, that's why I said something that you can do, you know, relatively high volume, so 10 to 15 reps probably at a moderate weight. So hypertrophy is not gonna be something I can do 25, 30 reps of really. It's gonna be more that moderate weight. Now, take this a step further, okay? So obviously we're talking intensity, we're talking volume, and again, volume is just gonna be overall reps, or you can even do weight volume where you're doing reps times the weight, so you can see how much weight was lifted throughout the entire workout, and that's a good way to kind of compare workout to workout volumes and intensity. For instance, if I'm doing 10 reps of something and I'm doing 100 pounds, right, now I got 1,000 pounds from that one set. If I did 10 sets at 1 rep, right, at the same weight, I'm still at 1,000 pounds. So there's been a lot of research out there that's shown, and there's one specifically that talked about this. I think it was the effects of hypertrophy training on bench press was the name of the study. And it actually broke down 3 groups. So it did one group 7 times 4, so 7 sets, 4 reps at 90% of their max. And then it did, what was it, 7 by 4, 5 by 8, and then 3 by 10 at different percentages. So basically higher volume, lower percentage, and then lower volume, higher percentage, right? Now, the overall volume, so the overall weight lifted was relatively the same. Statistically, it was the same from week to week, right? So you would think somebody that's doing those higher reps from each set would have higher hypertrophy, because that's the hypertrophy rep scheme that most of us think about. But actually, everybody had the same level of hypertrophy gains from that workout. Okay, even though one of them was doing something 7 by 4, one of them was doing something 3 by 10, right? So as long as that overall cumulative volume apparently is the same, that's the overall goal to grow muscle and grow hypertrophy. Once we get into strength stuff, then we can maybe drop that volume down, because that intensity is so high. If we're doing 6 sets of 2 or something, we're doing 95% of our max, that's gonna really fatigue us, our central nervous system and our joints and our muscles overall, but we're gonna really work on that strength. But if you're working on hypertrophy, just try to find something where that volume can be high. Think about what your goals are. Think about the population you're working with, if they'd be better served doing something like a 3 by 10 or something like a 7 by 4, because you're gonna get really the same hypertrophy levels as long as that total volume is the same. So do the math, check it out, and check out these basic periodization models. Like I said, linear, undulating, block periodization.